Well, hello there. You are listening to Nellyville, the podcast. And I'm Black. Hello, shalom. Welcome back to another fabulous episode of Nellyville, the podcast, the place to be. I'm your host, Chanel number 5, and I'm so happy to be back once again for another week, another kiki, another good time, another round of information that may or may not be of use to you. But yet again, here we are, and I can't thank you enough. With all of that being said, we have some announcements. Okay, congratulations are in order. Let's make some announcements. Let's pass on some congratulations, and then we're gonna get into the hot topics, darling. Okay. First off, Drag Race promo has been released. Okay, Drag Race fans, you know, over here in Nellyville, we do it big over here. We are on the girls' heels. We are watching from beginning to end. I already have a couple of potential winners just based off of the promo. Okay, if you want to know exactly what I thought about the promo looks, the promo interview, there will be a dedicated YouTube video on that. So make sure you're following me on all the socials so you can stay up to date on all things Drag Race. Now, Kenya Pleaser is going to be one of the queens. I think is going to be at the top. One of my other favorites is going to be Briar Blush. Okay, and then there's another girl, I can't think of her name. Look, the promo video just came out. Give me a break, you guys. But there's a third one, professional dancer, toured with Rihanna. I think the Lady Gaga. I think Britney. Okay, was the leading dance role in the Havana video from Camila Cabello. Plus, that queen has a great personality, very funny, very down to earth. This seems like it's going to be a great season. Also, we are not the baby season right now. Okay, last couple of seasons, we've had some very baby queens, which is great. It's fun. It brings a very new perspective. Okay, would I like to see a little more mature, matronly, legends in the game, those who have really put in 20 plus years in the drag? Yes, I would love to see these icons come on Drag Race, but at least we got a bunch of queens in their 30s, and from a fellow 30-year-old for that, RuPaul, we thank you. Okay, but anyways, that's enough about Drag Race. We'll get into that at another dedicated time. Other congratulations in order for Shane Dawson. Shane has been working on a movie and series and trying to get these things out for a very long time. It seems like it's finally coming to fruition. There is going to be a Shane Dawson pilot for his new project, so keep an eye out on that. Congratulations, Shane. I'm glad it finally worked out for you. Speaking of Shane and friends, Sandy Yaw, who is sister-in-law to Shane Dawson. Okay, Sandy's married to Jared. Jared is Shane's brother. Sandy has quit her full-time job. Sandy was a whole teacher out here in these streets and has decided to be a full-time content creator YouTuber. So Sandy, big up to you, girl. You know what I'm saying? You and Jared gonna be out here dipping in and doing it. Much success. Look, it's all about taking that leap. Okay? Sandy and Jared, they've been doing the content creation for, I would say, a couple years now, maybe. And it seems like they're having some good success. So I think now that big leap of walking away from the 9 to 5, I think is really going to be fruitful for them as they have more time to dedicate to these creative projects. So good luck to you, Sandy and Jared, and we wish you well. So I think that's it for announcements and congratulations. I want to do a little throwback to Thanksgiving week. Okay, look, the feed has a little bit of rollover after Thanksgiving. Things catch up. So I run across this prank, and I want to ask you guys how you feel about it, because I feel like people are kind of blowing it out of proportion, but maybe I'm in the minority. So this family pulls this Thanksgiving prank on the fiance of one of the sons. Okay, so this is, very normal looking family, a few sisters and brothers, mom and dad, and then so one of the brothers or sons, however you want to describe them, has this fiance. Okay, and the family pulls this prank on this woman and tricks her into believing they are going to do a turkey run, which is like a annual marathon run. I don't know if it's just in one city or if it's in multiple cities, but you probably heard of this before. It's this marathon, I think a 5K run that people do on Thanksgiving morning. They dress up like turkeys and they run, and it's a thing. They convinced her that they were doing this. They woke her up early, 5, 6 in the morning. They tell her, "Oh, come on, we're gonna go outside, take a picture for, before we take our run." And then right when they get like 1, 2, 3 cheese, they say, "Just kidding, it's a prank. We're not actually doing that run." And then of course the young woman fiance is standing there like, "Oh my gosh, what? Are you kidding me?" So here's where the discourse comes in. To me, I feel like, okay, a prank is a prank. And I don't know how long she's been with this guy, but let's assume here for a second, you know, you really shouldn't make assumptions, but for the sake of banter, let's just assume that she is familiar with this man and his family and their antics. They seem like a prankster family. Seems like something you would probably know getting into it, but maybe not. Maybe, maybe you all don't live close to the family. Maybe this was your first Thanksgiving with it. I don't really know the backstory. But it seems like for the family to come up with this kind of a prank and be completely in on it, it seems like your fiance is probably a prankster too. You probably know. But people were upset saying, how dare they for weeks trick this girl into thinking she's got to run 5K, 10K, whatever. I think it was 5K. She had to train for weeks. She bought an outfit and you all woke her up. Look how tired she looks to trick her for all the. Now, look, here's where they lost me because I was trying to figure out where are y'all getting all of this sasson that this was an elaborate prank for a week? Because I mean, unless there's a video that I'm missing, I did not see all this discord of, oh, we're going to tell her 6 weeks before and we're going to make her get up and train every day and every week. How do you know this girl don't already? Like, I'm guessing she doesn't run 5Ks because why would it be a prank if it's something she's used to doing on a regular, degular, schmegular? But people were adding a lot to the narrative. And when you start adding things to the narrative, then yeah, you give yourself a reason to be upset. From what I can tell, and there is a girl who says that she is the fiance in the video, and she says, guys, it was not like that. I looked tired because I just woke up, not because I had been training for weeks. It really wasn't that deep. It was funny. I looked shocked because blah, blah, blah. She explained that she didn't have a problem with it. It was just a prank. It's not a big deal. You are doing too much. Now, is this the actual girl in the video? I don't know. I didn't fact check, but I didn't have reason to believe that it was not the girl. So if the person who actually got pranked says it's not a big deal, whether she's brainwashed or not, whether she's protecting her fiance and his family, that's her business. People were making full blown discourse about they pranked you to run, girl, with the you need to run for real. And this is only the beginning. And I'm like, y'all are doing a lot of projection. What I was gathering is a lot of y'all just do not like your spouse's families. And you're projecting it on this girl. It's not like they actually made her run. And even if in the event that she was actually training, what's the harm? What did it really hurt? They pranked her into being in shape. Like, I'm not seeing like, oh my gosh, they made her be healthy and exercise. Like, even if that part is true, which I don't think it is, why are we upset? Also, this woman, this is a grown woman. She didn't have to train. She didn't have to participate. Like, yeah, sure, we do things because we feel obligated or we feel pressure to, want to please people or want to fit in, want to join in. But at the end of the day, if she did it and didn't want to, if she trained or spent money on outfits she didn't have, hey, at the end of the day, this is a lesson learned that, hey, if you don't want to do something, then don't do it. So I don't know. Y'all lost me on that one, but let me know. Am I wrong? Were they wrong for pranking this girl and dragging her out of bed? I just don't think it was that serious. But hey, who am I? Just a girl with a microphone, right? With all that being said, I will say that I'm very glad that all the Thanksgiving antics are over. It was a great one, but it is now officially the most wonderful time of the year. And Vlogmas is here. Not in the way that it used to be. We used to get the great content from the YouTubers with the Vlogmas, and they would come out and they would vlog every day or multiple times a week. They was out here, really, they were in their bag. December is the time that, what I'm saying? Everybody's making money, but especially the content creators, they pumping out, trying to get that end of the year bag. And I didn't blame them. And gosh, it was just such great stuff. I mean, all of the greats. Boy, oh boy. I mean, just thinking back on the good old days of the YouTubes. I mean, we were really in it. We were getting 30-minute vlogs, 45-minute, hour-long vlogs. Good, just great times. And but look, speaking of YouTubers who were used to really be out here dipping and doing it, we got to talk about my girl Gabbie. Now, last week we talked about her. We didn't really get to her because we spent most of our time talking about Ryan Chase from KRBE, which I don't have much of an update on him. Now, I did hear a rumor, but I want to look a little more into it before I pass along that information. I would like to fact check. I don't even want to say allegedly because hey, I'm not one to purposely spread misinformation. But other than that one little lead that I have, not too many updates on that. Ryan, hey, we still wish you well. Anyways, let's talk about Gabbie Hanna, who, y'all know, I'm a huge fan. And if you're a long-time listener of the Nellyville podcast, you remember my intro used to be different than the one now. And it was a Gabbie Hanna song. That was one of her songs. That's how much of a super fan that I am. That is my girl. That is my day one. Okay, so last week what I wanted to talk about was she made a post on her Patreon about pop stars are perverts. And she zeroed in on Sabrina Carpenter. So I want to read it. I want to go through it. I want to break it down. Now look, y'all also know that Sabrina Carpenter is my girl. We go way back. I might be fans of them for probably around the same amount of time. Yeah, give or take. But so, I don't like being in a place where I gotta choose sides. Now, I'm gonna read what Gabbie said. I'll say off the bat, points were made. Points were made on Gabbie. But there is a little bit that I disagree with. So I'm gonna read it. Now, I'm going to kind of repeat last week. Look, Gabbie has a history of every now and then going on these rants, whether it be something about pop culture, something about religion, something in her personal life, and she does have tendency to hyperfixate. But that's one of the reasons why I like her, because I ought to also have tendency to hyperfixate on something and to really dive deep and become very highly analytical over niche topics, grand topics, whatever it may be. But as much as I love her, hey, not afraid to say when I kind of really don't see it like that. And, look, I don't want to be put in the middle. Don't make me choose between Gabbie and Sabrina. This is not her coming from her, and you will understand when I read it. Now, this is pretty lengthy, and we're going to read it. We're going to get into it. We're going to break it down. And it'll make sense. Just stick with me. Okay, so on November 23rd, Gabbie posts something on Patreon. Now, Patreon is something that you can sign up for to get exclusive content from, your favorite celebrities, content creators, and it is behind a paywall. Now, what I'm reading is behind a paywall. Gabbie, girl, I'm sorry. I'm not showing it nowhere. I'm not reposting it. This is for entertainment purposes. I don't really know the etiquette of stuff that's behind a paywall. I'm pretty sure she wants to stay. It's not nothing bad, but I just want to say. Anyways, I'm rambling. Okay, so let's get to it. So she posts pop stars are perverts. Okay, this is the title of this letter, soliloquy, whatever, news article, whatever. And those of you who are interested in Patreon is where they can post videos, music, notes to their fans where you can have, one-on-one discourse and conversation, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, just in case for those of y'all who do not know what Patreon is. Anyways, look it up. So it reads as such. Listen, this isn't about trying to police women's bodies or tell people what they can or cannot do. This is about acknowledging that you have to be an actual mentally confused pervert to get on stage, look into a crowd of minors and literal children, and simulate blowjobs and sex positions. It is bottom line weirdo behavior to get on stage in underwear, lay on your back, and spread your legs open and touch your vajayjay. She said vagina. Well, I guess I could have just read it if I was saying. Anyways, you have to be a true sexual deviant to look at a child in lingerie and feel proud of yourself that they're copying your style. Now, let's pause. So we're going to break this down and speak on it as we read it because it's long and I don't want to have to remember to go back to what point. So this was just the first paragraph of this. She's already coming out the gate strong. What prompted this? I don't know. This was the first post that I saw of her that she's speaking on this subject. Could there have been something before that maybe I missed? Maybe. And there was some other conversation between her and fans in the comment sections, I think. And she's had like a couple follow-up posts after this, but we're just going to focus on this one. So the first thing I want to acknowledge here is I understand what she's saying about Sabrina Carpenter is a little more hypersexual these days versus when she came out. First of all, she's a grown ass woman, okay? And while I understand the mindset of you should be conscious of your fans and who's at your shows and then maybe adjust accordingly. If you have young fans, maybe don't do grown up stuff. Like, it's not about policing, it's just about being aware of who your audience is. But and I have the same take. That's why for so long I didn't really care for Nicki Minaj because I felt like she was doing very, very grown up stuff, but marketing herself to young girls. That's not okay with me. Do grown up stuff, but do it for grown up people. However, I don't think it's the responsibility of the parents to know what their kids are watching. She's grown. She did the kid thing. She lasted longer than most Disney kids. Most of them, when they turn 18, they completely flip a switch. Sabrina Carpenter's in her late 20s. She's like what, 26, 27? I don't think that she just one day woke up and was like, okay, just going to wake up and be sexy. I do think it was more of a gradual, you know, coming into my own sexuality and being more grown up. I don't think it was just one day she was like, well, I don't want to be a little girl anymore and flip the switch. I don't think it was that, like somehow some pop stars do. But anyways, now what exactly is Gabbie referring to? Now, I don't know about little girls showing up to the concert dressed in lingerie. And I don't know this seems to imply that Sabrina saw these minors in the audience dressed like her and applauded it. I don't know. I did not fact check. Now, if she did that, there's a lot of context that needs to be now. Are we talking young girls like 18, 19? Are we talking like 10, 12 year olds? But then doesn't that fall on the parents? Like what, but what exactly were they wearing? If she did applaud young girls and dressed up like her in lingerie, then yeah, that is weirdo behavior. But I don't know where this is coming from. So she's using very strong language. So, okay. It then goes on to say, I'm not saying put on clothes, change your act. I'm saying if your act is a sexually explicit, oh, I think she misworded. Okay, it says, if your act is sexually explicit or even implicit, make it adults only show. Make it an adults only show. Again, like I said, it falls on the parents. Now, there are rules for event venues, for performers, for concerts, that if you have a certain amount of certain type of language in your show, if your act includes, certain gestures, certain moves, then yeah, you will have to, by law, in most places, you do have to put adults only or 18 plus. Okay, look, I I get what Gabbie is saying. But at the same time, this falls on parents because I think Sabrina, her show, it teeters the line. I don't now. I've only seen clips. I have not been to the show, but I do think that it does walk the line. It is borderline in some instances of the show of, yeah, only adults should be here. But it goes back to, you as a parent, you need to know what you don't just, we've talked about this before. Parents getting mad at Sabrina saying, she's doing too much for her audience. Sabrina has a lot of grown ass fans, i.e. me. She doesn't, if kids want to show up, that's not. Now, if she makes the show 18 plus and says that, well, it's adults only because it's sexually explicit, I think a lot of grown people are going to show up and be disappointed. It's right on the borderline. I don't think it's crossed the line to where she needs to make it 18 plus, because then if you do that, you're taking away a lot of your audience, because some grown people don't want to go to a show that is an adult that is 18 plus. You know what I'm saying? That is adults only. That may do the reverse on her ticket sales. I know me personally, I don't unless I really know who that artist is or that comedian or that unless I really know what it is that I'm going to watch, I'm not going to buy tickets to a show that's saying adults only, sexually explicit. That's just not my tea. You know what I'm saying? You might be expecting something that's way more extreme than what Sabrina is doing. Anyway, so let's move on. Gabbie says, I only did 3 shows in LA. Every one of them was 18 plus, despite knowing that my ticket sales would be drastically cut. Isn't that what I just said? And I'm not out here singing about how I'm so wet that it's running down my thighs. I just didn't feel comfortable singing some of these songs or expressing these emotions to children. And because some of my songs say the F word. That's why my show was 18 plus. Okay. Okay. That's Mary. That's you. Mary, that is you. But also, one of the comments, can we pause here and say, one of the comments pointed out was like, well, Gabbie, one of your album covers, you're fully naked. And this was some years ago when she was probably about the same age as Sabrina Carpenter. You have a lot of young fans. So what do you've also posted like, kind of sexually explicit pictures, not like full, but suggestive pictures and stuff on Instagram. So, pot meet cattle. Which there is a distinction there that, smaller audience, smaller, fan base, different. I don't know. Never wasn't necessarily a Disney star, look, context, right? But still, don't be a hypocrite. The next part of it says, I recently heard a YouTuber call Sabrina Carpenter a positive role model. I wish I could ask in what way. Is it because after 6 albums that didn't hit mainstream, she started selling out and became mega successful? And I don't want to shame Sabrina here because this is a symptom of the system, a microcosm of the culture. Why did we fail wholesome Sabrina when she was out here singing about twiddling her thumbs? Why was she so pushed by the industry when she started ad-libbing about boners? Okay, this is true. We have seen a many of pop stars come out very wholesome and the industry pay them dust and then they get naked and then they blow up. This is true, but I have to stop you there because I feel like Sabrina blew up when she came out with that. I mean, she's always had a pretty. She wasn't bottom tier. This is not somebody who. This was not Charlie D'Amelio. Not Charlie. This was not Dixie D'Amelio, and then she went to the other extreme and then blew up. This was not, Addison Rae, who was very wholesome and pure, and then she, got a little grown up and then blew up. It's not. It's That was more of a transition. And I think that Sabrina gradually inclined to become more and more and more. Now, I'm not going to be naive and say that she didn't blow up more when she got a little skimpier. But I think it was more her time. I think that the beef that she had with Olivia Rodrigo, I think that nonsense song that she came out with, especially the remix with Coi Leray, which Coi Leray is a rapper, and that kind of introduced Sabrina to a wider demographic. I think that helped her. I think that Christmas special that she did really helped her. I don't think it was one of those where it was like, oh, you know what I mean? And then I think she would have blown up either way. I, I, I get what you're saying, Gabby, but then at the same time, it's kind of coming off a little bitter. And I wouldn't say that the 6 albums that she had, I wouldn't say the albums before that were flops. I think not everybody listens to pop music. I think if you listen to pop music, I think if you were a Disney kid, I think that Sabrina was a very big deal. And you can go back and look at the YouTube numbers and see Baby Girl was bringing in the views. Some of those music videos had higher views than Miley Cyrus is getting on her new music right now. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Miley is that girl. So Sabrina's kind of bringing in the same numbers. Somebody's listening. Maybe it wasn't you. I don't know. I don't know. The next part says, from experience living in Hollywood as a mindset and a location is akin to living in another country, nay, another universe. It is not the same there. My heart is thumping thinking about it. It's a demonic dystopia. It changed me for the worse, for the less good, because I surrounded myself with evilness. No one was alarmed by anyone's evilness because everyone was evil, looking for evil to affirm their own evilness. Okay, look, Gabby, reel it in, baby girl, reel it in. Now we know Hollywood is questionable. There's a lot of dark side of stuff that's going on there, but and I hate to place a heavy but because facts are facts, America. But over here we believe in two sides to every story. We believe that two things can be true. This is not the 90s where you had the 90s and early 2000s where you had the likes of people like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Monica, Brandy, Jessica Simpson. This was not the time where you had literal teenagers. I want everybody to pause for a second and think about how young Monica was when she first came out. Was she like 14? And I want you to think back to that first album, Miss Thing. Think back to the lyrics. Think about the context of what she was singing about. And everybody was just like, okay. I grew up thinking Monica was a grown ass woman. It wasn't until maybe high school, maybe after high school, that I realized, oh, wait a minute. Why does it seem like this girl has not aged? Oh, because she was a literal child when she first came out. She was just singing about adult content. So, yeah, is it true that Hollywood will take a minor and hypersexualize them? Yes. Yes. But Sabrina is not a teenager. And she has been in the business since she was a child. This is a grown woman who made a conscious decision to get naked. This is going to be, I'm going to say, closer to more of a Janet Jackson move, a Madonna move, where you had, I mean, I guess you could say they were late teens, grown ups, but okay, think about Janet first came out. Everybody paid her dust. Didn't nobody give a damn about that key and her earring and that whack ass song. Now it was a cute song, and I don't mean the song was actually whack. What I'm saying is everybody paid her dust. But then when she got a little song, now Janet, but see, so Janet, like Sabrina, and not to compare the two, it's very different. But for the sake of example, right now, Janet didn't just go from, oh, I'm just a sweet little girl, to all of a sudden she's, busting it open on stage. There was a gradual, you know what I'm saying? She didn't just flip the switch, but pretty early on in her career, Janet did pivot to, she did the dance. Oh, I'm a rebel. Yeah, look at me. Pleasure principle, control. Yeah, woohoo. And then very soon after that, then that's where we started to get naked Janet. Okay. But it was a gradual, and by the time that she got naked, she was a grown ass woman. Also, someone who had been in the industry from very, very young since a little girl. Okay. It is different with someone who's older and made a conscious decision that, okay, I want to pivot. I want to change my image. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to feed my audience. Okay. It's very different. It's very different, Gabbie. So let's not. Some people are just out here making conscious decisions about, being, you know, sexual. It's not always some higher up execs telling little girls to take their clothes off. It happens a lot, but I think that's a different conversation. Anyways, let's keep reading. It says, I'll read that last little bit. So it says, no one was alarmed by anyone's evilness because everyone was evil, looking for evil to affirm their own evilness, seeking demons to make their own look less ugly. I've seen real evil. I've encountered soullessness, and I keep trying to bring myself to say that I almost became evil myself, but that's not true. God would never allow me to be handed over to evil. It brings me to tears, His divine intervention. As soon as I started getting too comfortable with evil, dabbling in evil, He snatched me out. He allowed me to taste the world. He did not allow me to swallow it. He allowed me to taste evil. He did not allow me to swallow it. He allowed me to taste poison. He did not allow me to swallow it. And the dogs are upset in the background. Please keep little Fido and Rufus quiet, please. Thank you so much. I would appreciate. Oh Lord, y'all hear them dogs? Baby, I ain't got time for it. So here is where I think the true issue arises. So we started in the beginning talking about Sabrina and all the things, right? Now we have pivoted into the religious part of it, which obviously is the driving force behind this. Now, as a Christian woman myself, this is why a lot of me and Gabbie, what she's saying, I agree with. Being in tune with your faith and your relationship with God is very important. It is also a slippery slope. We're crossing over into judgment territory, which you are not supposed to do. Some people have a tendency to weaponize their religion and sometimes even go as far as to slip into religious psychosis to where it completely clouds and intensifies your perspective on worldly events. Now, is your relationship with God and should your relationship with God be your compass, your moral compass, your just your compass in general through life, your moral standing example? Yes. But you have to check yourself. When you start, there's a thin line. You can slip into religious psychosis is a very dangerous thing because most people do not realize they are in it. And it can last anywhere from just kind of a moment in time, a few moments. And some people get caught up in it for years. Some people a lifetime. And I implore you to really investigate what that means. There is a way to have a healthy relationship with God, but then not if you find yourself being judgy, if you find yourself being anxious and upset about what these worldly things are, you might be in a state of religious psychosis. That is not of God. Do not get so caught up in attacking the evilness of man because you're confusing what's really of God with the man-made version of religion. Does that make sense? Let me say that again. Do not confuse what man has taught you about God or Christianity or religion. Do not confuse that as bond as to how you are what your outlook is supposed to be on the world and the people in it and the choices that people are making. That's where people get up. That's where the hate comes in. That's where the judginess comes in. Gabbie could have gave this message without calling anybody out by name, without going so deep in. While she's saying, I'm not trying to attack her. It's not her fault. She fell victim. Who are you to say what this grown woman is a victim of? Now, this was happening when Sabrina was 16, 17, hell, even 19 or 20. Then, okay, a grown woman, you don't get to label another grown woman a victim. And I'm not saying she wasn't. I don't know. And that's the point. We don't know. You're putting this on her like, oh no, she fell into this trap of evilness and she's stuck and she's poisoning. Like, you're doing too much. like let's breathe. Okay. It goes on to say, he being God, he did not allow me to be swallowed by it. Junk food. The culture is junk food. Fast, unhealthy, empty, poisonous, addictive, gluttonous intake. What goes in is what goes out. Gossip, judgment, vengeance, hypersexuality, impulsivity, wrath, laziness, greed. Greed is murder. If I'm ever given the opportunity to be as powerful as Taylor Swift or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or even a fraction of that, I am really going to feed these kids for real. There, there are babies dying in the streets, and we're watching Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B scissor during a pandemic. What is going on here? We really gotta wake the F up. So that was the end of that. And then, oops. So, and then of course there was comments and people had discourse and, obviously this is Gabbie's Patreon. So a lot of people, the comments for the most part were an echo chamber, but there were some people who kind of rebutted her and kind of was like, well, Gabbie, think about this and what about that and skibbity bobbity boo. I feel like it was a lot. And what I was saying last week was, I understand what she's saying. This also seems like a beginning of a rant session. Over the last few days, over the last week or two or so, she has made a few more posts about, kind of directly to this subject, but also how can I say, posts about, gosh, how can I say it? Just heavily religious posts for having, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's not like her content is fully Christian all the time. And now all of a sudden you're coming out with this, and now it's like, it's getting very Jehovah Witnessing, it's getting very pushy. And I'm all for this. Is why I love Gabbie, because she's, an out front, forward Christian woman. I like her because she talks about God a lot. I don't like when people weaponize God. Like, that makes me uncomfortable. I don't like when it feels pushy. I don't like when it cross over to be judged. Like, I don't like when it feels like you're calling people out. I don't think that's the way to lead people to Christianity. When it starts to make people feel like they're not doing enough. And obviously, she didn't post anything that inherently says, "Oh, you're a bad Christian." But when you out of the blue, you're talking about people's favorite pop star, you're like, "Oh, Hollywood's evil, all this evilness, and these perverts, and then how close are you to God? We need to start prayer circles." It's giving, girl. I think you're having another breakdown. I don't think she is, but I get worried because she's done it before. But she's fallen into like deep religious psychosis to where like she's literally writing on the walls. She's fallen into a before where she was like, well, Jesus spoke right to me and said that, like, I'm not trying to bash her. Not that Gabbie whatever this girl. Look, I'm just trying to hold people accountable, and I'm not saying that she didn't, but when I know that you over there puff passing and you doing the thing, look, certain drugs and weed and shrooms and psychedelics and stuff can open up vessels to make you be closer to the spirit world or to God or whatever. And that also in some settings can be perfectly fine. But we're not talking about drug use right now. But when I know that you are a person who smokes a lot of goddamn weed and you doing gummies and stuff, it's hard for me to be like, Jesus told you what now? Like, it's not to say that she didn't actually have those experiences, but I do know that you are creative. I know that you are neurodivergent, and I know that you be over there. Also, I like to add that she's been on and off the weed, over the years. And I think that's mostly all that she's. I don't think she's done psychedelics or shrooms or anything like that, but weed nonetheless, gummies, and that she's done weed. Come on, what is this? What is how old am I? But anyways, I that's what I was saying. So after these religious posts and these things, somewhere in between or right after all of these posts, she says, "Well, I'm quitting weed again." So it's true. So my thoughts were true. That you over there, because this rant is something that you say when you want that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I have the gift of gab. But people who smoke I went to an art school. I was surrounded by people who were constantly under the influence of something. It makes you, it make that's why they call it elevating. You do stuff like make rants like this. You go a little deep, you go a little left. Anyways, I digress. That's what little Miss Gabbie had to say about all of that. If you want to see more, if you want to see the comments, I encourage you to go to the Patreon. She has lots of great content, lots of great music. Look, I'm still gonna be a fan of Gabbie. I'm still gonna be a fan of Sabrina. Are both things true? Yeah. Is Sabrina out here doing she kind of, woo woo, a little risque? Sure. Is she a grown ass woman? Yes. Am I grown? Yes. Am I in charge of children? No. Parents out there, know what your kids are listening to. It is not the media's job to raise your kids. Now, I personally make the choice to be a little more family friendly, but that's just because it coincides with my personality. I don't really have a desire to be out here popping on a handstand or, talking about skibbity bobbity boo or taking shots on camera. Like, I indulge in all of that content. It's just not something I want to do. I think that you got to be true to yourself. It's not your responsibility to raise kids. And to these parents who are taking their young kids to the Sabrina Carpenter concert, what the fuck? What is wrong with you? Especially the first few shows, if you were confused because you thought you were going to see Maya from Girl Meets World, okay, sure, whatever. But after several months into it and guest performances on shows and stuff, did you not listen to the album? But both of these last two albums have been very like, what are we? Mary, are you reading the lyrics? Like, I'm not. I these are grown women at the end of the day. You just gotta raise your own kids. You don't get to tell pop stars what. You don't get to tell grown people what they can or cannot put out. That's just not. Especially when I put out 5, 6 other albums that were a little less. You know what I'm saying? When they were family friendly. It's not my fault that you Negroes want to run out here and buy when I'm turned up. And Gabby, you do you. You want to make your shows 18 plus? Girl, look, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Because I don't want to be responsible for teaching some kids some stuff that I don't want to be responsible for teaching them for. I'm not really in the business of corrupting children either. But, to each his own. Now, I think Hollywood has gotten a little bit better. Do they still hypersexualize women or just in general? Yeah. But you don't see it as much with how it used to be in the 80s and 90s where you had literal teenagers. You know, look at Bobby Brown. When you look back and really think about how young Usher was, when you think about how young a lot of these artists were and the content of their music, I don't want to hear anybody talking about anybody today. These motherfuckers are grown. It's changed. People had a problem back then because you had 14-year-olds on the cover and bustiers and booty shorts. Hello? Yeah? Are we on the same page? Okay, great. Love that for us. So anyway, to be continued on that. That was my little 1 2 1 2 on that. Let me know what y'all think about Gabbie. Okay. And speaking of kids, I just want to touch on this. Now, there's a hot take going around that there was this woman who made a video, and that's how every story starts out. It was a woman who made a video who said that people who do not have kids do not realize that they're basically on vacation 24/7. And this pissed people off. Now, I didn't see all of the original video, but the gist of it was the woman was saying, like, until you have kids, you just really don't realize how much free time you have without kids. And then a lot of people without kids were like, we're not on 24/7 vacation. We just have one less responsibility than you, and we're out here busy and working and stuff. And then other people were like, we do realize how much free time we have, and that's why we don't have kids. A lot of people were very upset. Here's my take. I think the woman was absolutely right. Here's why. Now, without seeing all her video, but this is here's my take on the whole people on 24/7 vacation without kids. I am a professional nanny and have been so for a very long time. The way my brain functions when I am at work versus when I am not is very, very different. And because 1 degree removed from being a mother, I really, yes, you see what it is. And I often think about, oh my gosh, these parents, their brain is running like this 24/7 for the rest of their lives. Now, obviously, as kids get older, they get more independent and stuff, but it doesn't stop. Even when you have grown children, your brain is still running 24/7 in some capacity about your child. It just the responsibility and the context of what you're thinking about, it shifts, it grows, it evolves with your child. But yes, what this woman is saying is true, because I do feel like my brain is on vacation when I'm not at work. It's easy to focus on, like, being an adult, having responsibilities and stuff. Yeah, it's a constant, everything, you know. Kids make things 10 times harder. I mean, they they are a blessing. Kids are great. This is why I've done it for so long. I love it. I absolutely enjoy it. But there is a deeper appreciation. There is a what that woman is saying. She wasn't saying that that we're all just out here sipping mojitos and dancing in the streets. But the way your brain operates when you are around children, when you are in the care of children, is something that you don't realize until you are actually a parent. Now, people always say, well, things change. Everything's going to change. It's not about you anymore. Your time is not your time, blah, blah, blah. No, dude. And even when you're not doing anything, even when the kids are fed and napping and everything is clean, you're still thinking about the next thing. There's always something that needs to be cleaned, picked up, meal prepped, planned. Then and then you got to keep them clean. You have to play with them. You have to engage with them. You got to have these conversations. You got to keep a certain it is a lot. Now, obviously, I'm not talking to my parents. I'm talking to people who do not have kids and feel like, well, I got a very busy life too. Yeah, bitch, but you only got to worry about you. You only have, now do, and it is hard to imagine, but if you have nieces and nephews, young cousins, if you have get them for a day. I challenge you to get them for a day. Now, some of you who are older siblings, who was kind of like a second parent, a lot of times you have older siblings who won't have kids or who will have them later in life because they felt like, damn, I raised my younger siblings. I'm sick of being a parent. I didn't even get a childhood. Which I think I've talked about that before. That I don't like when, now having your older kids babysit and stuff, that's fine. But some of these parents who just fully let the older kids just take over, or people who just dump their kids off on the grandparents and stuff like that. Don't that's I don't like that. I don't like that, especially when you make your older kids take care of the younger. I don't like that. But Your brain, it just do it for a day. I don't care if you sit there with that child all day and binge watch every Disney movie and color two pictures. If that's all you do, I promise you, you will be exhausted. Just the mental gymnastics, just just knowing that you are in the presence of a child and knowing that doing them, and then if you're not used to having them, doing the mental gymnastics, or when you have kids and you have to change your behaviors, doing the mental gymnastics of watching what you say, watching what you watch, paying attention how you maneuver, making sure you have self-control is enough to exhaust you. You could be watching something you think is completely innocent, and then bam, some kind of weird commercial comes on, and then you got to explain to this child something that you're like, I don't first of all, I don't even know how to explain this, and how much do I tell this child? It is exhausting. So yes, I agree with this woman. I agree with her. Your brain does feel like it is on vacation. And being able to just focus on something without worrying about, I have to be done by this time because I got to go pick the kid up. Hiding in your car to eat something because you don't want, you just wanted number seven. And your teenager calls, and now they got this Life 360 and stuff. You're hiding in your car, you're trying to eat this food, and your teenager calls you and like, Mom, why are you at McDonald's? Are you bringing me something? No, I'm not buying you anything. Okay. Well, how come I want some too? I'm your daughter. Why don't you buy me something? I want that. Like, yeah, mother. I remember. You know. There were times. I'm talking directly to you now. I remember there were times you would pick me up in the carpool line. I smelled the McDonald's fries. You were not slick. You weren't. And I didn't say it. A couple, maybe once or twice I said something. But I'm like, you know what? I'll let her have her moment. I'll let her have her moment. Okay? But I get it. I get it. You just wanted the McDouble and the fry without somebody saying, "Can I have some? Can I have?" No, move. It's mine. Let me, please, let me have my fries to myself. Please. This is the only moment. Mothers who escape to the grocery store. You don't need anything. You Instacarted everything. But that's your escape. Trying to hurry up and eat a cookie so a 2-year-old doesn't see you, and they say, "What's that? What's that?" "Oh, some." Eh, You are on vacation. That does not mean that you are not working hard. It's not that you're not going to school or trying to set up your life to be able to dedicate the time that you know that it takes. It's not saying that you are just lounging or lazy or that your life has no purpose. It just means that you are operating on a different caliber. That's all that woman was saying. And she was not saying that she does not love her kids. Now, people who get online and rant and make these kinds of videos about, wow, you just really don't know. Be careful what you say because your kids might see it and might take it the wrong way. So you do have to be careful about the way you love stuff. Look, I mean, the way you word stuff. Because if you say something like, I love my kids, but some sentences, some phrases, you got to be careful about putting the word but after. You know what I'm saying? I love my kids, but I'm glad that the truth is coming out and mothers and parents and fathers are feel open enough to have a discord about I love my kids, but god damn, I did not know. I think that that's healthy to express that. You know, maybe just do it in the group text or, amongst your peers in person. Be careful about what you're putting on the internet because to some people it comes off as you're an awful parent. And that's why so many people actually hide the way they actually feel about being a parent. Everything has its ups and downs. You're not gonna love being a parent every minute of every day. That's just human nature. Doesn't mean that you don't want your children or you don't love them. And it is some people who don't love their kids and don't want them. But that's another conversation. All I'm saying is, oh my gosh, it is not missed upon me the mental gymnastics of taking care of little folk. Trying to get them to go to bed. And they're down, you think they're asleep, and they're like, I'm thirsty. I have to use the bathroom. My foot's stuck in the blanket. Can you read me a story? It's dark in here. It's too bright in here. You get calls from school, I'm sick. You gotta go pick them up. You have to go pick them up. You know your child's bullshit. They're not sick. That was me. That was me. Sometimes I just had enough. And I knew my mother would come get me. Every time. I mean, it got to a point she was like, "Okay, you like, this is getting out of control. Like enough already." You thought you were gonna get that nap, and then you get that call. Hi, yes, this is so and so from ABC Elementary School. We're just calling to inform you, that your child's not feeling well. If you want to come and get her, like, shut. Oh my god, damn. This was my one and only time to finish watching Grey's Anatomy, and here you are. And look, and it's great. Look, times like this during Christmas time when you get to take, especially if you have little ones, and the family traditions, and when you take your kids to go see the Christmas lights and tree lighting and stuff for the first time, their reactions. I mean, it really, there's a lot of moments that really do make it worth it. Baking cookies, leaving notes on the lunch boxes, the warm hugs, the laughs, there's lots of really, really great highs. But with anything else, you're gonna have your highs and your lows. But I will say, for those of you who've taken your kids on to see Christmas lights and stuff for the first time, record their reactions. Record the things that they say, or and not just with the Christmas stuff, just anytime you're taking your child to experience something for the first time or the first few times or whatever, just record it, because you never know what a kid is going to say. And if anything, it'll be a great little collage, a little montage moment for when they graduate high school, something to embarrass them with. I mean, really, really great moments. But check on your fellow parents. That brain be working, man. That brain be working. So, shout out to the parents out there. And people who don't have kids, shut up. Don't be so damn offensive. Well, that's why I don't have. Yeah. Yeah, but like. Anyways, let me see. I think we're gonna wrap it up. What was I gonna say? I do have one more topic. You know what? Let's go ahead and wrap. We're gonna make this one a long one. This is the last. Well, let me see. Let me think about it. Actually, we're at an hour. So what we're going to do is next week, maybe if I feel like talking about this, we are going to open up next week with talking about women proposing to men. Because I do want to dive into that. I'm going to keep my opinion to myself for right now. But if you want to know my thoughts on women proposing to men, tune in next week. So that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you think about all that Gabbie Hanna drama. And let me know what you think about Sabrina Carpenter and all of the great pop stars before. Let me know your thoughts about Hollywood, having kids. What was your life like before and after? Do you realize a difference in your brain? Have you been a parent so long that you can't even remember a time where your brain was not running in overdrive? Let me know something. Or just give me a little shout out. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, love you guys so much. Be waiting for that drag race promo video critique from me. It'll be out very, very soon. And yeah, I'll see you little stars, or talk to you little stars very, very soon. Okay, take care. All right. Bye.